if you're not consistently taking action, you're just not going to get the results. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, as always, on these Wednesdays, we got Matt Jones. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Todd?
I'm doing fantastic. Man, it's been a busy couple of weeks, which is always fun and sometimes relieving to get through some of it. So as most of you know, we had the Northstar Real Estate Conference, and that was last week. Yeah, last week, Monday, Tuesday, it was the Northstar Real Estate Conference. And so even though I wasn't the one doing most of the day-to-day, or really any of the day-to-day, getting things prepped and set up, it still is a lot of pressure. And so definitely a lot of stress leading up to that week or a couple of weeks. And I'm always constantly thinking about it. And then of course, throw in a couple of capital raises. So we raised $11.2 million on Regal Park Apartments, which we closed at the end of April. And then we got beginning of May, we got the real estate conference. And the day after the real estate conference, we put out our new capital raise on this newest apartment, which I can talk about it because it's a 506C, but we put that out there the day after the conference, and now are still in the midst of getting this capital raised for this property. So it was like boom, 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 back to back. But I wouldn't have it any other way, right? It just keeps life way more exciting to be always on your toes. Otherwise, you're just kind of, I don't know, I'm just kind of boring otherwise.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, the conference was excellent. It was our fourth annual one. We had a lot of great speakers, a lot of great content. But as usual, the networking was where the real value is.
Yeah, I thought I really liked it. We changed quite a bit up, Matt. I mean, the years past, we brought in kind of different people from the industry, different guys and gals from the industry. We brought in a lot of multifamily people, but then some mobile home park people, some commercial, just industrial and office and so on. And this year, it was all about multifamily. It was called the Multifamily Advisory Summit. And we brought in a whole different group of people, right?
Yep. And I think it was really more concentrated, I think, than our previous conferences in regards to it was all about multifamily. And the idea was to, you walk away with knowing who your team is going to be and really understanding multifamily.
Yeah, exactly. So that's who we brought in, right? We brought the team. We had mortgage brokers. We had property management. We had real estate brokers. We had insurance, tax and savings, underwriter. What else? I guess we had Trevor, so mindset coach too. But beyond that, it's, and quite frankly, a mindset coach should probably be on your team because there's a lot of mental fortitude that comes into it. But we brought everybody that would be, or not, maybe not everybody, but big parts of the pieces of the puzzle. And putting these deals together, it's a complex transaction. There's multiple attorneys on every deal. There's, your CPA, there's the lenders, the brokers, the insurance. There's so many different pieces to this puzzle. You have to have them all available. And so that's what we wanted to do. We went through a case study and brought in every single person that we could that's a part of the transaction to walk us through their role, what they're doing, how the deal got done, which I thought was pretty cool. It allowed us real-time access into the inner workings of an apartment complex and how we get this deal across the table.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed hearing from Terry Judge, who you had as a guest on the podcast recently. He spoke at the conference about cost segregation and how to avoid recapture after you sell a property. And the stuff is really mind blowing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many cool things we can do, and we got to start thinking outside the box, right? I mean, it's not about just getting the deals across the table. It's about operating them, managing them, raising the money for them. How do you save taxes? How do you save on expenses? How do you increase income? And there's so many little pieces that we want to play into it, and that's kind of what this conference was all about. So really get people to think and get people to make good, real connections. And so hopefully they could push to the next level. And I talked at the conference, like, so easy to become average, right? It's so easy just to do what everybody else is doing and even become a little bit above average. But, you know, you've got to take the steps. And you have to have the mindset if you want to become extraordinary. If you want to become, a lot of us want to become part of the 1% financially. A lot of us want to become part of the 1% physically and emotionally and spiritually, and as you know, as part of a family. And if you want to do that, you've got to show up extraordinary. You got to do things different. You know, you got to take those extra steps that people aren't willing to take, and take those risks that people aren't willing to take. So, you know, we walk through that, and of course, Trevor does a great job presenting that. I talked a little bit about it on stage too, and you've got to push your boundaries always. If we're not learning, we're not growing. If we're not growing, we're dying.
You got to be consistent with your efforts. I mean, anybody can have a big
Yeah.
push, here or there, but if you're not consistent, then you're not going to realize your gains.
Well, and that's the key. You know, look, to anybody who's listening to this that came to the Northstar Real Estate Conference or has been to a conference lately, you know, look, it gets you motivated at that time. You're pumped up, you're ready to go, but make sure you take action and consistent action, right? If you're not consistently taking action, you're just not going to get the results. And so we can read all we want. We can go to as many conferences as we want. We can hire coaches to tell us everything to do. You know, we can do all that kind of stuff, but if we're not actually stepping out and stepping up and taking action, you're getting zero results. And so that's what you've got to make sure you're doing. And so, yeah, anybody who attended this, figure out what's that next step that I need to take right now. How do I start building that snowman, right? You don't just have the snow doesn't come down and form a snowman right away. It just doesn't happen. I don't think I've ever been in a snowstorm where a snowman gets formed out of the snowstorm. What happens is it starts at a little ball, right? And then it gets rolled, and it gets compacted and pushed together and continues to get rolled. And then we do it again, and we do it again, and we stack them up on each other, right? And then we build the arms, and we build, you know, we got to do the whole thing. It's taking action, and it's consistent action. It's moving along. It's rolling it along to the next step.
So, for the people who attended the conference, how can they have this consistency? And even if you didn't attend the conference, what does it take to make sure you do that?
Well, I think it starts out with just your desire, right? You have to have a burning desire. You have to have a reason you're doing this. You know, I talk about it many times. You're going to get kicked in the pants very often being an entrepreneur. It's not punching a 9 to 5, right? It's totally different. And so there's going to be plenty of times where you're like, how am I going to come up with tomorrow's lunch money? Right? What's going on? The bank account is fleeting quickly. How long can we last? There's going to be times where people, you know, knock you down, mistreat you, tell you you're stupid, like laugh at what you're doing, tell you shouldn't be doing this. You know, you've got to have that mental fortitude to last through that, and that comes down to your commitment, right? We can be interested in being successful, but you've got to be committed to be successful. You got to be fully committed. You've got to be fully embracing the good and the bad that are going to be coming along the way. And so that's really what it comes down to, is that pure desire to do it. And from there, if you have that, you're going to be able to take those steps. You're going to be able to push forward. And by the way, you have to have confidence in yourself. You have to have confidence in what you're doing. Do you believe in it? And I think it should be easy to believe in it, but it's really challenging sometimes. Why shouldn't you believe in it? It's proven, you know, over the last several hundred years, 1,000 years, that people that own real estate are wealthy, right? I mean, you got wealthy landowners from thousands of years ago. That's how they built their wealth. They own land. You know, they're landlords. I mean, the term landlord has been around for a long, long time, and it's not land baron landlords. I mean, it's not new, so it's proven. So why don't you have confidence in what you're doing? Right?
Yeah,
Get
more people.
educated, surround yourself with the right people, and be confident in what you're doing.
Yeah, more people have become millionaires through real estate than any other thing, through
Yeah,
business or stock markets. It pales in
and they hold their
comparison.
wealth.
Mhm.
Over the last 200 years, Matt, there's been four major real estate cycles, four major ones. There's been a couple little bumps along the way, right? 1992 or whatever. There was a little cycle that happened. You know, real estate went down in value by a couple percent. 1980s, same thing happened. You know, so it's happened, but the real big ones has happened 4 times in 200 years. The stock market's had 7 of those same events in the last 40 years. Okay. So which one do you prefer? Right. I prefer real estate, where I pretty much know that there's very few times it's going to go down drastically. 2008, right? Great Depression, 1930s, like 1878, and then 1837. That's it. Again, there's been little bumps, but no big crashes.
I do know it seems like there's some growing concern, maybe anxiety, maybe fear about an upcoming potential recession. And
Sure.
I have no idea what
But
actually is
Matt,
going to happen.
what do these recessions do year time after time to real estate? The only thing they do, other than those 4 times that I mentioned, the only thing they do is they cause a little bit of a slowdown, maybe a 10% market correction, 5% market correction, but they cause a little bit of slowdown. So unless you're buying super aggressively, you're just fine. You're gonna now. Is there gonna be some people that'll lose their butts because of it, because they can't withstand a 10% correction? Absolutely. Now, could there be a real market cycle and a real big crash? Could there be? Sure, there could be. But history shows us that it doesn't happen every 20 years, right? So history shows us it happens once every 50 years. So, who knows? Again, doesn't mean it's not every 50 years exactly. It's not every 40 years exactly. But there hasn't been continuous real estate cycles, big crashes, continuous big crashes. So, do I expect a real estate cycle? Yes. But do I expect it to be big and deep? No. Could it be? Yeah. I'm not fearful for it. And by the way, what good is it if I'm fearful for it? What does it matter? What's it going to do for me? I was just talking with a good friend of ours about this. We were out with them this last weekend, and they sold they sold really all the real estate back in, I think, 2015. And I think part of it's they just wanted to be out of the market, but the other part, I think, was a little bit of they're looking at potentially timing the real estate market. Now, the good thing with them is they took their money and they invested other places, and they've done well, right? They didn't just sit on their money. But I also know another person, and I've probably mentioned this on the podcast before, but he did the same thing back at the same time, about 2015, 2016. He sold everything and he stayed in cash. And look at how much money he lost during that period of time. Not only he didn't have any investments moving, and so he wasn't creating value, but he had his money depleting due to inflation. And even though inflation wasn't very big over the last many years, it still deteriorates due to minimal inflation, and then didn't grow at all because of investments. His net worth during that time, and I don't know his inner workings of his net worth statement, but if I know by what he did, his net worth at that time grew very little, where my net worth and many other people's net worth that were investing during that whole time grew substantially. Could I lose everything? Potentially. Is it likely? I don't think so. So, you know, we can always sit here and be a genius and say the market's going to crash, and eventually you'll be right. Eventually you're going to get it right.
And the one thing that can protect your money from inflation? Investing in real assets.
I was thinking chocolate chip cookies, but real assets.
That sounds delicious too. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, real assets. It's funny because all these people are like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. That's going to protect us from these bubbles, right? It's recession. It's going to go the opposite way during a recession. It doesn't follow the stock market. Well, look what's happening now. Cryptocurrency is following the stock market exactly. Real estate's not following the stock market. It rarely does. So, all right. Northstar Real Estate Conference was awesome. Learned a ton. Made a lot of great connections. Super excited to have it next year again. I don't know. We might switch it up. We keep switching it up every year. I'm just trying to tweak it to make it better and better every single year. But either way, excited to have it again. We haven't announced when we're going to have it. We got to do a little housekeeping first, and then we'll announce where we're going to have it and put it out there to people. Try to give everybody a little bit more notice than this year of the timing of it. But it'll be again in the spring of 2023 at some point in time.
And for the people who attended for VIP, I'm currently editing the videos, so those will be out soon.
Yeah. It was great, Matt. We had a huge VIP turnout at the conference, especially when you look at the tickets sold and the amount of people that bought VIPs. That was exciting. So it was super fun. It's always so fun to make these great connections at these conferences. I just love it.
Yep. And we're not trying to make money off this thing anyway. It's just to provide value for the community.
Well, if we were trying, we're not trying very hard because we're not making money. So cool, man. Well, Matt, anything else you want to cover before we wrap?
No, that's it for today.
All right, man. Well, you have a fantastic rest of the day. Make every day a Saturday.
Thanks, you too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.